This is a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township held in Council Chamber, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Monday, November 18, 2019, following the conference meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Present.
Councilman Jackson?
Here.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Here.
Councilwoman Williams?
Present.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Here.
Council President Eason?
Here.
Also present, Joyce Lanier, the City Clerk, Chris Hartwick, the Business Administrator, Avron White, the Deputy City Attorney, Deputy Chief.
Polito, right? Polito?
Polito.
Deputy Chief P.
Marlon G. Towns, Legislative Research Officer, Lisette Sanchez, Record Support Technician, Chris Murray, Tax Assessor, and Paula Fiera, Tax Collector. The requirements of NJSA 10:4-9 et sec, the Sunshine Law, has been met. A notice of this meeting was published in the Star Ledger on July 5th, 2019, and the record transcript on July 11th, 2019, posted on bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the City Clerk. Approval of meeting minutes. October 15th, 2019, conference and regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move. Councilman
Second.
Williams and Councilwoman Johnson. Councilman Johnson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Department monthly revenue collection. The Department of Community Service for the month of October collected $17,623. Constable reports. Richard Noisy for the month of October did monthly meeting on 10/5 and 10/10 church security. Darnell Brody for the month of October had no activity. Oprah reports, none. Council reports.
Any council has any reports they want to report on tonight?
Council President,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
we just had the Finance Committee meeting, and myself, Council President, Councilwoman Wooten, B.A. Hartwick, citizen appointment, Ms. Perkins, citizen appointment, Mr. Baran, and Quinn Fields from the clerk's office was present. Everything is pretty much have been discussed through the questions. The only thing I just wanted Mr. Hartwick to go over was the taxes and people that purchase houses from developers real quick.
So one of the issues,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, one of the issues that's come up on a couple of council meetings is people who have purchased homes from flippers or contractors and then subsequently have gotten an unexpected increase in their taxes. The process very simply is this. The person who owns the home or the contractor takes out permits, does improvements, will often put that project up for sale or that house up for sale before the permits are closed out. But the permits will be closed out prior to the transfer of title. The tax assessor is notified when the permits are closed out and the improvements are completed and a certificate of occupancy is issued. But the deed, which is the formal notification of a change of ownership, doesn't usually come to the tax collector or the tax assessor's office for several months. There is often an adjustment to the assessment, and that process tends to catch up at the next tax year. So it can happen sooner than that, but it's unlikely. And as a result, some people are surprised. What a number of neighboring communities and real estate brokers are doing is when they list a house that's been flipped, they put the estimated taxes on and an admonition to contact the assessor or the collector in the municipality to discuss the tax bill. And I think that we'll probably do something on our website, just put up a notice that people who are acquiring homes or contemplating acquiring homes should contact either the assessor's office or the collector's office to get an idea of what the taxes will be.
And I'm sorry, I failed to mention City Attorney Auburn White was present, and also Mr. Towns was present as well. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, Councilman Coley.
Yes, Council President, last Thursday I had to, I attended my first ABC board meeting. Thank you very much. And at that meeting, it was a rather, good and quick meeting. And at that meeting, I asked a question about the new brewery that we have in town. It's a beautiful place. I had an opportunity to go there, I think, whatever day that was, whenever they invited us. Was okay. Beautiful place. The only issue that I have is that their license comes from the state, not
Yes.
from the local ABC board here, and we don't have any control over that. The only control that we can have over that is through our land use laws, through our ordinances. And I hope that, I didn't get a chance to look through it, but I hope that our new Bible here kind of dictates as to where certain type of establishments can be set up. Because I feel that we should control where places set up, not some place that's come in and they want to do what they want to do. So I just hope that is addressed in the new ordinance that we have that covers the zoning laws here in town. But besides that, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. So you out sampling the beer, huh? But anyway.
Yes, Council President.
I think a couple of meetings ago, I asked the question how we could regulate that, and I was told we cannot because it's through the state.
Yes.
That we have no jurisdiction over the brewery. Because I thought ABC board needed to have some type of insight or oversight, but they can't. So I don't know what the next option, and like you said, maybe it's in the,
Well, we can control the location.
yeah.
We can control the location through our land use laws.
Yeah.
We can do that.
We actually, when the brewery first approached the city, one of the first things we did was check the land use permissions for that location and determined that it was permitted there. There were then some building code issues that we had to work out with the state because it's a mixed-use building with residential above it, and those were worked out. Right now, and I've only read the draft ordinance about 7 times, so I'm going to have to go back and read it again, but I'm pretty sure it's permitted in a mixed-use zone and in a commercial zone. So I need to go back and look specifically at those uses.
And it's actually spelled out.
I believe so, because we actually have been approached by other breweries.
Okay.
But the question becomes, even with the land use, it's in a privately owned facility. Can we still use the land use laws to control it?
Well, you can use the land use laws to permit or preclude where it can be located.
So don't we have to legislate it at some point?
Well, I think your opportunity to legislate it through the land use law is going to be before you relatively quickly. So we'll look at the current draft and highlight, where it would be able to be located on your zoning map. And if you think that that needs to be changed, we'll adjust that during the hearing process.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome. Any other council members? We're gonna move on. You was sampling the beer too?
Police and fire, do they have a report?
I recommend it.
Did we have the fire,
Quite tasty.
no police tonight? No? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing?
Hey, man, how you?
Good. Deputy Chief Politi, Orange Fire Department. Quiet month. We're
finished up with our Fire Prevention Month. Went well. We did a lot of schools. We hit a lot of the apartment buildings, the senior buildings, so we did a lot this year, we really did. We're currently preparing for our Thanksgiving feast, which is next week, Thursday morning. Hopefully, you guys can all make it out. And everything normal. We had 3 one-alarm fires the last 2 weeks. Hickory Street, I think Lakeside, and Christopher.
Right.
Everybody's okay, no injuries. A few residents displaced, but otherwise, everything good.
On the lakeside one, did we have them reboard that house up in the back?
I'm not sure. I wasn't on that one,
So-
Councilwoman, but I don't think that one was too bad, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think it was on the porch.
Okay,
So I will check with Marty.
We had it secured.
You did? Yeah, okay.
okay.
If I may, Deputy
Yes.
Chief, you're still accepting donations for the feast on Thanksgiving?
Yes,
All right.
yes, you'd have to check, I believe with Captain Brown. I believe he's handling all the,
All
you know,
the donations?
yeah, what we need, what we have.
Okay.
Some years we have like, way too many turkeys or way too many hams, so just check with him to see what exactly he needs, because then you end up with 30 hams and no stuffing, so,
got you.
that kind of stuff. So it makes, we're out of stuffing an hour into it sometimes.
Sure,
so.
sure. All right, thanks.
That's all,
Deputy
okay?
Chief.
Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
And Chief, this may not be a question for you, but while you're here, the status of the demolition for the fire on Hickory, do we know that?
So we are doing an emergency demolition. We had the structural engineer out there. It'll be down before the end of the year.
Okay,
Probably sooner.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Move the agenda.
Communication and petitions, there were none. Citizens' comments. Pursuant to Section 4-10 of the Code of the City of Orange Township, each person addressing the city council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name and address in audible tone for the record, and unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 5 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments.
Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. Lamonia?
Hello, how are you this evening?
Hi, it's LaMonica.
Monica. All right.
Hello. Yes.
State your name.
LaMonica.
LaMonica. Your address. Last name?
Cheatham.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Can Justice go?
Yeah, Lam-
If
you have a
someone else-
suspicion?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Justice want to go first.
If I may, counsel, she's here to support, so she's really not ready to go before I do.
Well, why don't you come on up? Are you Stacy?
I'm not. Stacy, they're here to support Justice
Oh.
Township.
What is your name? Did you sign the book?
I did.
All right, you want to come on up?
Sure, Councilman, thank you.
Thank you.
Justin Roundtree, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Council President, thank you very much. Also, fellow council members as well. My name is Marshall Justice Roundtree. I am a resident of Newark, New Jersey. However, I am contracted with the Orange municipality, with the city of Orange, to provide an open mic poetry show here at the Orange Public Library. I am here to advocate on the library's behalf because I was told through third-person municipality workers that the council was considering discontinuing the necessary funding for this program to continue. So I put together a PowerPoint presentation, and I've emailed it. I don't really know how far it got, but I emailed it to the city, and I'm also here to maybe read from the PowerPoint some of the points. I also have some people here. This is our first time, so Council President, please forgive us for not adhering to the policy that's in place. Some of us didn't know that we had to sign up until later. Some of us, there's only a few of us, and just as a side note, The show, the current poetry show is from 6 to 9 every third Monday, so the show is currently going on. We left the show to walk down the street to express why the show, the arts here in the city of Orange is so important to the elder community. We have people that are 96, 97 years old. We have a busload that brings the elder community to the poetry show. They look forward to it once a month. We also have people as young as 7 years old that come to the show and give them an opportunity to let them know that their self-expression and that their voice is worthy of being heard. If I may just share, I wanted to provide a copy, but I don't think they had a little difficulty getting the copies to provide each council member with a copy, but I'll just read some of it. Why spoken word poetry. Local area libraries, they benefit best from spoken word events for 3 reasons. First, it provides a cultural, competent, and relevant material to those who support the library. That's one of the benefits. It also provides a meaningful and competent programming, because this can be a challenge at libraries. We offer support the importance of oral traditions in tandem with a reliable and quality venue, provides free library public relations, which foster community goodwill and subsequently provide financial opportunities to the library. When spoken word, who comes to spoken word poetry events? Everyone from young aspiring artists to settled homeowners to seniors who have bequeathed power. This diverse demographic can benefit the library in 2 ways. 1, improving foot traffic to the library and other library programs. Also, it could provide fundraising and networking opportunities for library officials to meet the community members who would otherwise be off the radar. Also, additional benefits to having spoken word poetry at the Orange Public Library is the Orange Public Library Board, the council, can benefit from attending 360 Poetry as a fun way to implement board membership expectation number 8, know the community, quote unquote, know the community. In many groups and elements, this represents the entire community interests. Also, finally, I would say that 360 Poetry, which is the name of the poetry show, and 360 is just a term that denotes the holistic approach to having community involved, the youth involved, the elders, spoken word, performance art. We just had a stand-up comedian, all forms of expression. Our mission is to include everyone. The audience is demographically diverse because it contains art lovers of all ages. The audience is a great source of information. Our events provide the library with a unique opportunity to gather information from a pre-made and enthusiastic community focus group about other programming the library is considering. And as I said, I am a Newark resident who has, and many of my friends and colleagues and artists that I work with are here in the city of Orange. I have great relationships with the mayor, and this is actually bridging the gap. As many of you notice from here, we call it East Orange and Newark and Orange and Irvington, but you can stand on one side of the street and be in East Orange and stand on the other side of the street and be in Newark, so we all here together. But I've been extremely successful, proud to say that in the city of Newark, New Jersey, I've had like the largest open mic and opportunity, a platform for expression, and I'm so enthusiastic about bringing that and helping develop that in the city of Orange. And anybody is free to like here and go take a trip and see how much fun we're having. We're underfunded, and I put it together on a shoestring budget. We have a musical DJ. We have a featured artist, and it's also a source of income for local artists. Each artist that comes through and performs a 20-minute set after the open mic portion is complete, they get paid for their services. So many of them are workers and school teachers themselves, and after work come here to perform and provide that. Thank you so much for the time, council, and if you would allow a few of the supporters that sacrifice their entertainment to come over here to share a few words.
I think you're preaching to the choir, because I don't know if you're aware, we approved your contract the last council meeting.
I was not aware.
So you
Unfortunately,
call the business administrator tomorrow, and he will provide you a copy of it. So the rumor you heard is null and void, because we did agree to continue the program.
I owe a couple people a little.
And please
mentioning no names. But however, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, and I would love to see some of you at the show and come and introduce yourself to the community. I mean, more so to the community. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have been to the,
Thank you
yeah, I
very
bought
much.
the, yeah.
Also, Councilwoman Ms. Williams as well.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. All right. I am. Is Stacy Williams with you also?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeffrey Fell?
Council President, do they need to get back to the library?
Yeah.
Do you guys need to go back to the library? Okay. But thank you for coming, thank you for coming.
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Feld, local businessman, attorney, and mortgagee, whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. As my custom, I delivered by email today a various heads-up memo with exhibits regarding various issues that we're going to be discussing tonight. During my preliminary time tonight, I'm just going to be talking about non-ordinance matters. First, as we discussed, is about the Thanksgiving. My family did make our annual contribution to the Fireman's Fund Thanksgiving with Captain Brown. We discussed it. And when this program began, it was really to honor Captain Brown's loss of his brother. He did to honor him, but fortunately, I think it's sometimes people are trying to take it for a different purpose, for political purposes. But we did donate monies, and I invite other people to join us for their annual contributions. As a housekeeping matter, today the court has scheduled a hearing in Field 18 on the summary judgment motion filed by the city and the cross motion filed by the county for 1:30 this Friday in front of Judge Gardner. Copies of the pleadings will be filed tomorrow in the clerk's office, so people can look at that as a public library. At the last meeting, you approved minutes from the January 26, 2016 meeting. There's questions I have. The copy that's posted on the City Council's website and the copy that was given to me are different about who signs them. In addition, the copy that was signed by the council president and the clerk does not have a date that it's adopted. It's very important that the public knows, because this is a historical record, that the minutes for a meeting that was done January 26, 2016 were approved on November 6, 2019, and that needs to be printed out on there. In addition, there makes reference that there's a clergyman who spoke, but it doesn't identify who he was or what church he was. That kind of information should be identified. That, like everyone else that speaks here, is identified who they are with a name, and why one clergyman was not named, and what church he was. The real issue, I told you about the bill list. The question is, why was the bill list only because we have a Monday meeting, didn't appear on a public website till like Sunday afternoon? We need to look at that. The question is, what special services did our auditors perform? On the agenda, I'm talking about resolutions. No one's talked about the assignment. There's an assignment resolution where you're approving an assignment of the 100% equity ownership of a person that you gave a redeveloper. In my memo, I asked you to look at various documents. One is the application, because when the application was filed for the pilot, it said that the person at one point, the most had was 50%, and there was 4 other people that had like 12.5%. When you look at the assignment, that person acquired the remaining interest, and today he wants to transfer his interest to a new people. And when I say look at the documents, there's questions about statutes, there's questions about the redevelopment agreement. Because with the redevelopment agreement, and again, I can't tell you when it was signed, because the only one that we have posted on the website is undated. But when you look at Article 12, there's like a sentence. It goes, the redevelopment entity, that being the City Council, considers that a transfer in full of the ownership in redeveloper or of a substantial part thereof, or any other act or transaction involving or resulting in a significant change in the ownership of or with respect to the identity of the parties in control of the redeveloper, or the degree thereof, unless specifically authorized in this agreement, is for practical purposes a transfer or disposition of the project then owned by the redeveloper. Redeveloper recognizes that it is because of such qualifications and identity that the redevelopment entity is entering into this agreement with the redeveloper. I mean, this is like bait and switch. Someone gets a pilot, gets a redevelopment agreement, says he has this ownership, requires the ownership of his original investors. Then he turns around a couple months later, says, I want to transfer complete ownership to someone else. Who are these people? And then the question is, this person that is doing this, how many projects does he have here? Because on the website recently, yesterday, or I saw, someone keeps on talking about carpetbaggers coming into this town. What do we do to stop this? We have pilots. We have agreements with who they are. You have agreements. Do we honor our agreements? I'm just saying, look at this, because there's also a question of the new parties, what do they have to represent to us? Do they have to tell us who they are? I don't know who they are. Do they have any pay-to-play issues? You know, there's things that we have to look at. It seems like you have an original person comes, gets the deal, doesn't like how it does, he turns around, gives it to someone else, and does the deal. These are things that we should look at there. I will be talking about the bond ordinances later on during the second reading public hearing. Thank you.
Mr. Godwin? I'm sorry, I'm looking at your last name. You can pronounce it for us.
It's Godwin Wananu.
Okay.
Okay. 360 Berkeley Road in the city of Orange. I haven't been to this meeting, city council meeting, in quite some time because we got frustrated some years ago when the taxes were increased substantially and all that. But then, we're a little bit alarmed at some of the issues that are coming up now in terms of the bonds that are being proposed to be raised. One of them that is very serious is the one for the acquisition of the hospital location. My question is, why are we doing this? Why is the city of Orange doing this? Why wouldn't why wouldn't we leave it for a developer to come and acquire the property and redevelop it? Why are we floating a bond to own it and then turn around and give it to a developer at a discount, which the city has been doing for decades? We've been living in the city of Orange since 2000. We paid over $300 and something thousand worth of taxes, and there hasn't been any decrease in our taxes except for the ones that were coming from the state. There was a comment in the best practices inventory number 48. It said evaluate opportunities for alternative revenue streams to help offset property tax levy. For all these years that we've been living here, the city of Orange, we cannot recall the city of Orange making any effort to help alleviate the taxes. We've been getting tax increases since the year 2000. So I would like to know from the business administrator, what proactive actions or items have you explored so far to try and help reduce the tax levy on us? Yeah.
Do you want to respond to that, or you want to respond to it later?
I'll answer if the council wants me to.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay.
So in 2017, we entered into a shared service agreement with the city of Belleville for shared healthcare services. That brings unrestricted revenue into the city. We've evaluated in the last 3 years all properties that are owned by the city or which there is a city lien with a view towards disposing and or getting those properties back on the tax rolls, which alleviates tax burden or at least increases on other people who are paying taxes. We continue to explore shared services with neighboring municipalities regarding dispatch and EMS, two of the more costly services that the city provides. And with regard to those last two, we're in discussions with the Department of Community Affairs to obtain grant money to pay for the studies. We currently spend over $500,000 a year on EMS services through a private contract. And with regard to dispatch, that's a cost on an annual basis to this city of in excess of $1 million. And we have studies that show that if we had a combined dispatch center with either East Orange, West Orange, or both, that the cost share to the municipality would be reduced to approximately $250,000 a year. With regard to EMS, the study is in process, so I don't have numbers on that. In addition, redevelopment, which has been targeted to underperforming and underutilized pieces of property, not performing and utilized pieces of property, when achieved in the appropriate fashion, does absorb by adding to the revenue stream, it does lessen the burden on other property taxpayers.
Yeah.
So,
However, we've not seen, I mean, most of the properties that have been redeveloped or developed, the city turns around and gives them tax incentives and tax breaks. Okay?
well, they give them pilot agreements.
Whatever you want to call it, okay? But can you please address my point about the $9 million that you want to flow the bond for?
Sure.
For the acquisition of, why is the city doing this?
Because the property's been closed as a hospital for 20 years.
Right.
The current owners of the property are the second owners since the hospital site closed. The first owners, who were also given a redevelopment agreement, did absolutely nothing with the property and then sold it to the current owners, who have owned it since approximately 2011. They've done nothing with the property in the last 10 years. When I got here in 2016, I started to enforce the property maintenance code ordinances against the property, engaged the owners to push them to submit a plan for development. They did nothing to secure the property. We levied close to $1 million in fines against the property owner. We met with them on multiple occasions. They still did not submit a development plan or even a schedule for when they would submit a development plan. And the overwhelming sentiment among the elected officials and the members of the community who speak at that microphone was that the city had to do something aggressive to return that property to a revenue-producing property for the city. During the course of the last 6 months, in our outreach to the property owners, we became aware of the fact that there was a default judgment on against the owners on their mortgage and their note, that the lender who possessed the default judgment was interested in selling it and not interested in taking it to sheriff's sale, because if he took it to sheriff's sale as a lender, then he would be in the chain of title and would incur environmental liability. So we discussed with the council and amongst ourselves in the administration a strategy to acquire the note, the mortgage, and the default judgment, and to take that, once it was acquired, to a sheriff's sale so that we could get the property in the hands of an appropriate developer to move on development of the site.
Okay, what makes you think that?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Sorry.
It took a long time answering my question.
I know,
so-
but I
so
stopped the clock.
just one-
I did. I
one
stopped the
comment.
clock.
Just one
So
comment.
I didn't time the whole time that he was talking. I stopped the clock and I started back with your second question. So you can always see him offline, or you can come to his office. He's there all the time, making
Well, I mean, my
appointments.
final question is, after we acquire that property,
Your time is up. I'm
what are we
sorry.
going to do with the property?
Oh, he's going to tell you that. You can meet him later. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ms. Caitlin Gordon?
Good evening, Kathleen Gordon, 211 Park Place.
I haven't been here for a while. I've noticed kind of lately that today is a special day. We have 7 second reading, more than 7, but ordinances, but 7 of them together, putting together the city into an extraordinary measure of indebtedness, potentially, if the council approves. If I figured it correctly, we are talking about about $46 million together. So I am going to comment at the appropriate times about the ordinances. But I became angry at myself as well as the situation to not being aware of this for myself earlier, and that the public is obviously not aware. This is, again, $46 million is about more than half and possibly 2/3 of our yearly tax burden. So this is really a big deal. We, the public, should be in one fell swoop. We, the public, I think, should be notified that such a situation is coming up, being better prepared to comment. Particularly, I looked up the council's website that was promised to the public. Supported a second website on the basis of the council promising that the supporting material for every ordinance would be produced and available online. So I have sometimes the time to come in and read the supporting material at the clerk's office, but very few other people do, and it is a requirement of a democratic municipality to allow the people to be prepared and know what is, rather than trying to decipher from a sentence what the $5 and $10 million expenditure would be. So another thing was promised for the council's website is to have an access, a direct interchange line to the council members. That is still not there, as far as I could see. So I would like you to respond if you are still interested in this, or these promises have been laid away. Thank you.
Okay.
If you could respond, what your goal and plan is with this website. As far as I can see, it is, at this point, is just a duplication of the city's website.
Yes, Ms. Gordon, we will respond to that later. Okay?
When later, you know.
We will give you a written response to the website. Mr. Tarver?
What's up, man? How you? Good. Right.
All councilmen can sit.
My name is Tyrone Tarver, 258 Ogden Street. Currently, I'm a school board member, but tonight I'm appearing here as a resident. I gave Councilman Coley a document that supports a conversation that I had with, I think, Councilman Jackson and Business Administrator Hartwick and Councilwoman Williams, maybe 2 meetings ago after the meeting adjourned. Even though I'm here as a resident, I'm still going to talk about school issues a little bit. There's still a lot of concern on my part and definitely on some residents, some parents' part concerning the condition of our schools. Everyone knows that we have to raise revenue to accomplish some of these improvements that the schools sorely need. Since 2 years ago, we voted to become an elected school district. Anytime we want to seek additional funds from the city, we have to actually put a bond on the ballot for the residents to vote on. Some of the bonds that the council are implementing over the last couple of years, the raises, the tax hikes that have happened over the last couple of years, it makes it a really, really hard sell for the school district to approach the residents and say, please vote on a school bond that's going to raise your taxes even more. We already made mention of the new residents, and I know that the tax bills break into 2 sections. I think it's for land use and improvements. So I'm pretty sure that the hike in their bill more than likely covers the improvements that have happened after they actually acquired the properties. But still, these new residents, they're coming and they're seeing these tax hikes. They have children going to Haywood Avenue or Forest Street or whatever they're going in. Like I said, it's going to be an extremely hard sell for us to put a bond on the next ballot and say, okay, please vote on raising your taxes again. I think in the last 2 years, the city has collected around $11 million in new total of $11 million in new taxes. There are a lot of complaints that the residents haven't seen exactly where the money has gone and what it's accomplishing. I know we have to honor police contracts. I think I heard this year you were renegotiating firemen's contracts. There's a lot of issues that the city has to address, but still, from an education standpoint, it's extremely hard for the district to raise additional funds. I know we're having improvements done to the high school that the state is funding. We're also having improvements done to Cleveland Street School. The improvements at Cleveland Street School, they're not going to accommodate for additional students, maybe 10 additional students for the whole school. So that's really no a gain as far as the student population at that site. At the high school, it's going to accommodate for maybe another 250 students, which is still good, but the master plan that was agreed to by the city council and the planning board, there are many, many different areas and different lots around the city that developers are currently trying to grab up, and that's going to increase the population size in Orange tremendously, and it's going to add students to the school district. And right now, the city can't handle, we're at capacity. The document that I passed around, this is state mandates, and if you just read the underlined section, it's state mandated that the Port District, we're formerly known as the Abbott District, but even though we aren't an Abbott District anymore, technically, we're still defined by those guidelines. Kindergarten, our max size should be 21 students, kindergarten through 3 rather. Grades 4 and 5, 23 students, and the higher grades, 24 student max. We are, the majority of our schools, over those max class sizes already. There's no way we're going to be able to find any funding to improve all of the schools around that district or acquire more properties for us to maybe add another school to handle this new influx of students. New property on Berwyn Street, Berwyn and Oakwood Avenue. It's a 173 unit development that's going to happen directly across from the school. And when they stood in front of the planning board and gave their impact statement on the number of new students, they said it's only going to be around 18 students out of 173 apartments, and which is, in my mind, crazy. And plus, I don't know if it was a mistake on their part, but they said their estimates were based on 2006 estimations. So
Mr. Tarver, your time is up. Thank you.
it is a concern. I would hope that the council people do attend some of the school board finance and facilities meeting. I know the council president comes, but we would definitely welcome more attendance to discuss this a little bit further.
Council President, real quick, real quick, I'm sorry, point of order.
We normally don't do that. You can ask your questions when you have your time to talk. Okay, no
Just-
questions.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tarver. You can do your concern on the record then. Can we have a motion to close, Council? Councilman Coley?
Second.
And Councilman Johnson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments?
Council President.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
My question would be, is that the class sizes and the schools that are having issues with that, is that identified somewhere? Because I wasn't aware of it. And if that is an issue, I think that it should be in writing for the public to see. Because just to give an example, my sons have never had more than 20 people in their class. It's almost like they go to private school. And I love it that way. And, you know, they're at Haywood, but I definitely think that that's something that we need to look into, and also make sure that the school is, you know, opening up new classes when we get, so that we're not breaking the law. So I'll definitely attend the next meeting so I can find out about class sizes. Let me see. Okay, so.
Now, the facility meeting is at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Well, I'll never make those. Okay.
So you go to the board meeting.
Yeah, I'll be there at the board meeting. I'll never make those. All right, so I attended the skate park grand opening, and I was a straight mother. My poor 6-year-old had on all the gear. I don't even think he could walk. But it was amazing to see the different skaters and different skate clubs there. There was a club there from Florida, and I Googled him because he was just so attentive to my son and other little people that were trying to do what all those fancy guys were doing. And this guy was from Board for Bros, and he gave my son one of his old skateboards because the one I purchased wasn't correct. And that's when I said to him, one of the owners of Driven was there, and he was saying they were going to be giving lessons. And I just think it's amazing that they chose Colgate Park. I'm very happy that they chose Colgate Park. Every time I drive past there, it's packed with kids. And it's just a new sport and a new look for our kids, which I'm excited about. Shout out to Public Works. They're doing an amazing job removing the leaf bags. I see them at least twice a week in my area. And like this morning was about 7 trucks in a row. So I know a lot of towns are complaining because they don't use the bags, and it's causing a lot of debris. So kudos to our Public Works for doing an amazing job. There's many homes for sale in the South Ward and many being sold. And I actually got to meet a new neighbor on my neighborhood Saturday. And I just went over, just told him my name, explained a little bit about the block. And I encourage residents, when you have new residents on your in your neighborhood, introduce yourself, because that's what is going to bring back that family value. And you know, the neighborhoods that we're looking for homeowners that want to know their neighbors and help their neighbors out. It'll also keep crime down because you'll start knowing their patterns. I will be bringing my kids to the fire department for Thanksgiving. I just have to have a talk with them because they go from serving, and then I'm looking for them and they're sitting down eating because the food is so good. But it's definitely an experience to bring. It's usually more workers than there are people. So we definitely need to do a robocall to get the residents out, because it's usually workers waiting for their turn to help. And last but not least, my next South Ward meeting is December 5th. From 6:30 to 8 o'clock, and it will be at 400 Jefferson. And I'm awaiting approval to be able to use the church's parking lot on Jefferson to help with parking. But that's December 5th. You'll get a flyer email, you'll get a robocall, and I will be serving dinner again. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
Council President, I'm in good shape. I don't have any comments tonight.
Councilman Coley?
The only thing I have for Council President, Council Williams kind of touched on it. The demolition of the house that caught on fire for the second, third time on Hickory Street, the BA already expressed that it's going to be real soon, but in my mind, it can't be soon enough. And that's basically it, and I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I think that's it.
And we all come to your house for turkey?
Sure, sure, just bring it. Good.
Councilwoman, I want to talk about the skateboard opening, which was a really great day. It is wonderful to see different people from different walks of life into our city. The children were ecstatic about the skateboards. We had a lot of company, as Councilwoman Summers said, coming, giving away boards, giving away wheels, all types of things. And, you know, the signage, and just to make sure that our children are safe. Also went to the Hands event the other night at the brewery. They had some phenomenal food. I didn't taste the beer. On the record. President, on record. The food was phenomenal, but it was a great meeting where they did this whiteboard of what they plan and what they want to see going on in the city of Orange Township, which is nice when you get a collective group of people who are talking about something positive. Oh, I'm sorry. On last week, we also had a meeting about the 2020 census where the Junior League of the Oranges in Maplewood were in the city of Orange Township. It was at Shiloh Church on Main Street. We had a panel discussion about the census. Like, everybody was in the room. Council Vice President Williams was there, came up with a lot of ideas regarding the census. And thank you to the clerk for putting our hashtag 2020 census on our agenda. We're gonna start putting that on everything that comes out in the city of Orange Township. Councilwoman Williams had a really good idea where she said maybe companies who provide food on their sandwich wrappers could put 2020 census in the city of Orange Township, which was really a really good idea. On Saturday at Ebenezer Baptist Church, we had an event where we fed the homeless. Came into our church, we fed them. We also gave them toiletries. We gave them food to walk away with, as well as a hot meal. After that was over, we took the food to, bless you, Penn Station, and we also took some food to New Brick Church to give out food. So this is the time to give out food, but it's also time to donate, as Councilman Jackson said. So please donate to your area food banks, and that's all I have.
Councilman Williams?
Thank you, Council President. The correct is hashtag census 2020.
I thought that was
Yeah, it's hashtag census 2020. And just to continue where we left off, asking everything to have that on there, but that comes down from the federal government. We had a Veterans Day parade that was really good. We wanted our, why can't I think of kid's name? Our honoree, and it was just a very great program. We ended at the Elks, and the Cross Star Orange Tornadoes showed out, and everybody else that participated. What I want to ask Mr. Tarver, I know that there's been a recent change regarding the schedule of the meetings, and I wanted to see if you can say that on the record. That's what I wanted to get the clarification. And Council President, if you know it, or Mr. Tarver, the change of the Board of Ed meetings.
Yeah, they're not at the Board of Ed location on,
Lincoln Avenue?
Yeah, that's what.
yeah, they changed it at, what is it, 400 Lincoln Avenue? Mm-hmm. Is it 400?
Yeah, because it's two, he's gonna tell you about it being 2 meetings a month now.
And since we have the TV, I just wanted, because I know that change, y'all been putting it out, but I wanted you to say it.
The changes that have occurred with our meeting schedule is something I introduced in January. We finally adopted. We're splitting the board meetings in two, okay? Whereas before, we used to have the board meetings where we would handle the board business and the student recognition and awards and maybe one school performance all in the same night. We're splitting that format. We're going to have board meetings on one night, the second Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
The time has been switched from 7 to 7:30.
Okay.
Okay? the Student Recognition Awards night. That date varies, and I do have the list, but the next date is actually going to happen this coming Tuesday. That's going to continue at OPA every month.
Okay.
And that's going to occur at 6:30.
Okay.
It's a little bit earlier time for the parents. You know, students can get home for homework or do what they have to do. They don't have to stay out till 9 or 9:30 every night again, okay? But that's the schedule for the next meetings.
Mr. Tarver, could you have them forward a schedule to the clerk's office so she can assimilate it among the council members, and maybe we can put it on the website?
I thought Madam Clerk Lanier got that email from.
You
It's
do
on
have
the
it
website.
already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you just put a copy in each council prison box? Okay. And then we'll put it on our website.
And
Thank you.
And the plays this weekend?
Excuse me?
And the plays this weekend? The
Oh, I
play?
was gonna talk about that. But you can, because, come on, we moving on. Talk a little, just tell them briefly about the play and what time it's starting this weekend.
I have to pull it up. I don't know it.
All right, okay,
But
thank you.
let the council
All right,
president.
Come on.
Okay, thank you, and, thank you. And I'm sorry, just going back to the Veterans Day, I just wanted to thank Congressman Payne and Assemblywoman Timberlake for coming out and supporting our Veterans Day Parade. Thank you to St. Matthew AME for hosting elected officials on yesterday. It was a beautiful service, and it was beautiful being there, as well as Bethel for Women's Day. The skateboard, I didn't get to attend, but this was a long time coming. While there are other skateboard parks around us, I understand that our park has taken it to the next level because of the bowl. And while I'm not a skateboarder, this is a big thing. And there's people that do skateboard, that participate in the things that go with skateboarding, they've been very excited. So this is a long time coming. And one of the things, Mr. Hartwick, that I hope that we embrace, they're very adamant about taking care of the park. They want to show their pride in the park in any way that they can. So I hope that we partner with them and allow them to, whether it's beautification, maintenance, whatever, but they're very passionate about just making sure that this park stays as beautiful as its presentation. Again, Thanksgiving is coming up, and I just ask everybody that can come out to come to the fire department. I know people have been asking how can they help, and that's a good place to help. And to all of our families here in the city of Orange, under the sound of my voice, during the Thanksgiving holiday, I want to wish you and your family a joyous and restful day, and that you have some time to just enjoy one another. And I'm sad to, God bless you, to send out my condolences to the Brennan family on the loss of their Miss Naomi. Mr. Brennan's wife passed, and just, you know, the Brennans have been intricate part of the Orange family, and just, I know she's been sick for a while, but now she's in a better place, so just sending the love out to the Brennan family. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to also reiterate best wishes for the holiday season coming up, reminding people this is an opportunity to contribute to those who have less, and it will feel good to do that if you don't already. I also would like to give thanks to Orange for sponsoring the Veterans Parade. I missed it, but just to remind everyone that veterans are around us all the time. I don't know how many veterans we have here. I raise my hand as a veteran. Anybody else in here a veteran? In the military, uniformed services. So they're all around us all the time. Understand that we have taken an oath of service to this country, and in that way, it's a privilege every day to see the good things that this country can do around the world. I'd also like to say something just about the skateboard park. I heard Councilwoman Jamie Summers Johnson say it's something new, but it's really a continuation, because about 40 years ago on a skateboard, I contributed some of my back pocket and some skin to the ground as gravity took control of my ride. But you know, skateboarding is a nice athletic, fun thing, alternative to bicycle riding that, you know, people will enjoy. And you'll see some, you know, some gray heads out there on the skateboard doing their thing because they've been doing it for so long. You know, so as we move forward with all these projects, I hear people talking about the ordinances. Just believe that we are moving forward in a way that maybe other councils haven't. Some of the things that we are moving forward with for ordinance support are things that have been lingering for decades. And in order for Orange to move forward into the 21st century at a pace that's adequate for our potential, we have to do some of these expenditures now, these investments in our infrastructure and otherwise, to make Orange a better place, you know, not just a good place from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, but some place that can move forward in the, you know, to 2100 with a better infrastructure condition. So be patient with us and understand it is in the best interest of Orange to do these things. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. I just have a few comments. Piggybacking on the Veterans Day, it was a beautiful day and a beautiful parade, and I want to thank Godfrey Campanella for putting it together and getting the groups out and get them excited. But one of the things that we did different this year that I thought was very significant, we raised the American flag, and we honored our America along with the veterans. So we saw the flag up, and we did the Star Spangled Banner. Ray Charles sang America the Beautiful, and Bruce Springsteen sung Born in the USA. So it was quite an event. So we really did something different to highlight America, because we are Americans. We all live here, no matter where you came from or where you hail from. Once you get off of that plane, you are an American in spirit and in truth. So the other thing is McDonald's has reopened. And if you haven't been, it's a treat because it's all automated. You can order from the kiosk and they will bring your food to the table. And they have monitors that will help you maneuver your way through the kiosk and the automation, which is great. It's a whole new look and a whole new upgrade for Orange. So if you haven't gone, please go out and visit. I was also at the skate park. It was cold, but it was grand opening. And Councilwoman Summers Johnson and Councilwoman Wooten and myself, we will be skateboarding on January the 15th, 2020. So you all come out and watch.
She really told the people that.
So,
I'll be geared up.
and you're going to see them go down in the pit. And I'm just going to watch. No, okay. So remember that day. We'll be out there January the 15th. And Orange. And one of the things I want to piggyback on talk about education. One of the critical things that's happening in education today is that we have a shortage of teachers. Our young folks are not going into the teaching field, so we are losing teachers daily, which means that also impacts our education to our students because we're using a lot of substitutes. So if you have anybody that's going to college, encourage them to become a teacher. I mean, that profession is dying slowly because I'm of a belief that we don't have bad children. It's parenting that's killing us. Parenting your children and making sure they know how to act when they go to school. So part of whatever we do and however, and which means with class size, if we don't get teachers, the class sizes will increase and probably double on each teacher. That's what's happening today in our education system. So don't let anybody fool you. It's not about what we're not doing, it's what we need. And the critical part, we can't teach the kids without teachers. So if you want a substitute, please go out and apply. We're shortage of substitutes too. So anybody need a job, you can go apply at East Orange, Irvington, Newark, Orange for substitute teaching so that we can continue to educate our children. And I don't have, but the play is at Orange Oprah this weekend. I can't find the flyer that's on my phone. Does anyone have the flyer?
I'll pull it up right now.
I think it's Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
You have the flyer?
Game of Tiaras. I need my glasses. Okay. It's Saturday, November 22nd and 23rd at 7 p.m. Saturday is a matinee at 2. It's pre-sale tickets are $5, $10 at the door. And Friday is free for Orange students and staff, and half price Saturday matinee. So this is going on Friday and Saturday, 22nd and 23rd, and it's at OPA, formerly Orange Middle, and now it's OPA, Orange Preparatory Academy.
So they're not doing Thursday, just Friday and Saturday?
No Thursday.
So come out and support our young people. We always hear that Orange doesn't have anything for you to do, but you can go to a play at Oprah. Also, on December the 7th, they're having their second annual district parent conference. And that's from 10 to 2 p.m. at Lincoln Avenue School. So parents, if you're listening, please come out and support. They have some vendors and some workshops, and you can register online, I guess, on the website. So please come out and start supporting our young folks and our school district. Move the agenda.
Ordinance on second reading, public hearing. 39-2019, a bond ordinance providing for the planning and design of an asset management plan for the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $350,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $350,000 bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. Are there any citizens who wish to speak?
Because we have so many bond issues on tonight, and we don't prolong, I'm going to limit each conversation to 2 minutes.
Do you have authority for that?
We're going to limit each conversation to 2 minutes.
You have
You can
authority.
spend it arguing with me, Mr. Phil, or you can continue to speak.
Well, first, I think we should just break out the first 6 ordinances, which are the water utility ones. Because ordinance number 40-219 needs to be, I guess, withdrawn because that was not approved by the local finance board. In addition, there's an issue that we had to address, and that's the original supplemental debt statement that was used for these bonds, this group of bonds. It was false. There was an error in it, because on October 16th, amended annual statement was put in, and that showed that you started off with the wrong amount. There is a need for this, no one disputes that, but we had to make sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, that we begin with our supplemental debt statement. That I don't know the validity of your first reading if you adopted it based on a false and erroneous supplemental debt statement. But you need to amend the supplemental debt statement for this group of 6. One of them has to be withdrawn because it was not approved by the local finance board. That was 40-219. One of the things I'm concerned about is because at the last meeting, we had a slide deck presentation, and we approved the applications to the local finance board. It was promised that they be put on the public website. They were not put on. Because one of the issues we have is not the need for the water utility issues. That has to be done because it's deferred maintenance, and if you were down in Trenton, you heard about the history about that. It's the question of how we have to fund it. There's going to be questions about how many rate increases we are. I'm just saying, let's make sure our I's and T's are crossed as to the water infrastructure. Because these water infrastructure ones go to the infrastructure bank, and that's where we're going to get like half payments, and things like that. But that's different, and I think there has to be explanation for the other ones as we come down later, the other $5 million. That is not an infrastructure bond. That's more like a refunding bond, and I'll discuss that in my 2 minutes later on.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this ordinance?
Motion to close citizens' comments?
Motion by Councilwoman Williams.
Second.
Second by Councilman Coley.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt on final?
Move. Motion by Councilwoman Williams.
Second.
Second by Councilman Coley.
On the motion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
Mr. Hartwick, can you speak to the debt statement We just said, I'm sorry.
The supplemental debt statements were prepared by the acting CFO, and I've had a conversation with him regarding what Mr. Feld put in his heads-up memo. We're going to review all the supplemental debt statements and the annual debt statements, but that review is not complete. And the requirement, if there's something that we have to do at the end of that review, we'll do it. But I couldn't get the review completed in time for this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Roll call.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
Do you want to make a statement about 40-2019 before?
Yeah, you should all vote no.
Okay. 40-2019, a bond ordinance providing for the rehabilitation and/or redevelopment of the transmission mains, distribution mains, and wells by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $9,750,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $9,750,000 bonds or notes to finance the costs thereof. Are there any citizens who wish to speak?
Motion to close citizens' comments.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Wooten. Was that Summers Johnson?
Over there.
Wooten, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Councilwoman Williams?
Second.
Councilwoman Wooten?
On the motion?
On the motion, just a little clearer that the reason that is because it's been amended and replaced.
So when we originally introduced this ordinance, we included the aggregate amount of the money that we needed over the next several years for the redevelopment of mains and wells. After looking at the utility and our needs and the need to maintain it as self-liquidating, we broke this ordinance into two phases. We need the stuff that's in phase one, which has now been placed into ordinance number 51. And the balance of this will be deferred until 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
No.
Councilman Jackson?
No.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
No.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Williams?
No.
Councilwoman Wooten?
No.
Council President Eason?
No.
41-2019, a bond ordinance providing for water collection system remediation by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $3,050,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,050,000 notes or bonds to finance the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
Motion to close, sorry.
Ms. Gordon, Ms.
I
Keegan Gordon.
merely have a question about, not particularly this one, but all the water system ordinances. I would like to know if the payment would be coming from the regular city tax, or it is going to affect the water payments. Thank you for the answer.
Business Administrator, you want to answer that?
Sure. The water utility is self-liquidating. These ordinances do not have down payments because they are authorized under the water utility, and they will be paid out of water utility revenues.
So it will affect the water bill. Thank you.
There are rates that will have to be increased over the next several years in order to meet the debt service payments. That's correct.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Mr.
I want to know the difference
You want to
between...
identify yourself,
Oh,
please?
Godwin Wananu.
Okay.
Between 41-2019, 43-2019, and 51-2019. What was the difference between these three? They seem to be overlapping. They seem to be similar.
Similar
and if I combine those three, they come out to about $13,250,000.
So they're similar in that they're all water, sewer, and utility-related projects. For a description on the specific projects that are authorized and separated into each ordinance, I'd call up Kit and John Luddington. You guys should stop talking and listen. So would you explain to the public from the microphone the project that's being financed in Ordinance 41, the projects that are being financed in Ordinance 43, and the projects that are being financed in Ordinance 51?
Katharina Neese, Superintendent of Water Operations.
Speak up and into the mic.
Katharina Neese, Superintendent of Water Operations.
Thank you.
I can go ahead as well. I'm John Luddington. I'm the project manager for Suez in the City of Orange Township.
You want to talk about 41?
Yeah, well, actually, 41 it's sort of semantics. The business administrator correctly talks about water and sewer. This number 41 is for the water collection system, which really is another name for your sanitary sewer system. 40.
Well,
So
let me add to that. 41 is 10 projects in coordination with the pre-paving of the roads for the Department of Transportation project for the road paving. Before paving those roads, we're replacing and repairing the sewer systems.
So that we don't have to dig it up later on and replace it after we've paved the road.
Right.
So we identified particular sewer lines and/or infrastructure components related to the sewer system, and those repairs will be paid for and undertaken with this ordinance before those roads are repaved, correct?
Correct.
Okay. 43?
43 addresses improvements into the water sewer utility. For Orange, they are improvements to water mains, fire hydrants, and your overall water system utility.
Well, 7 and 8.
Yeah, and well 7 8 will be later. That's that 5.
Okay.
So this is the replacement of approximately 70 fire hydrants, some additional fire hydrants that need to be replaced over the next several years and are built into the capital plan, and additional sewer improvements to infrastructure throughout the city that we're required to address on an annual basis, correct?
That's correct. As part of the Water Accountability Act, that we have to address the infrastructure of the city.
Okay. And then 51. If I'm not mistaken, 51 is the downsized,
Partial version of,
the phase 1 of what was originally in Ordinance 40?
yes.
And this is the one where we are doing the well rehabilitation that we need at which wells?
Well 7 and well 8
Okay.
here at the actual City of Orange.
And well 5 is in Ordinance 41?
Yes.
Okay. And are there additional improvements that are authorized to transmission lines related to wells 7 and 8?
We'll probably have to do some additional work depending on how much it's going to cost us to rehabilitate the wells. But it's probably going to have enough money to do some additional infrastructure work regarding the water mains themselves as well.
Okay, and wells 7 and 8, for everybody's edification, have been out of service for how long?
A number of years.
Okay, and these improvements will include rehabilitating the existing wells, new pumps, as well as filters necessary, state-of-the-art filters that are necessary to screen out any impurities, correct?
That's correct. We're looking forward to what are now called unregulated contaminants, but they will be regulated in the future, and our projection is that we're going to put the treatment in these two wells adequate to purify them to be well below the standards that the federal government plans to set.
And the improvements that are authorized in 41, 43, and 51, the vast percentage of those improvements are improvements in response to the notice of violation that the DEP served, correct?
Absolutely, yes, there are federal and state requirements.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sure, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to close citizens' comments.
Councilman Williams,
Second.
second by Councilman Jackson.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Councilman
Second.
Williams,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Wooten.
On the motion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
through you to Mr. Ivory. Can you just remind the city attorney that one of the changes to summary sheet for the ordinances was supposed to have simple statements on there to kind of simplify what the ordinance is doing? If we can just kind of, be consistent with that, because some of them have them and some of them don't.
Understood. I'll
Thank
bring
you,
that back
sir.
to the department.
All right.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
42-2019, a bond ordinance providing for the water meter replacement program by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $4,550,000, therefore, and authorizing issuance of $4,550,000 bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
And Jeffrey Phil, the only thing I would like to add on the record, again, this set of water, sewer, utility bonds, we're going to the infrastructure bank. Do we have any idea when we will know whether we got approved, and therefore we would have the reduced debt service?
So, if I may, Council President?
Yes, you may.
The applications are submitted. They've been uploaded. But I don't really have a good handle on how long it's going to take them to review. But because they have been submitted and uploaded, we're authorized, if we have these ordinances, to proceed with the work. And we have factored the fiscal impact on two separate ways, one without IBank approval and one with IBank approval. Obviously, with IBank approval, significantly less impact. So we have had ongoing discussions with both the DEP and the IBank people, and we have outside consultants and professionals who are assisting us in that process. I suspect we will know in the first portion of 2020.
Motion to close citizen comments?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilman Johnson Jr. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilman Jackson. On the motion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
through you, Mr. Hartwick. Mr. Hartwick, this particular ordinance may be able to be funded by a grant?
There are a couple in here where we are exploring grant opportunities. This is one of them.
And you just stated that in the IBank, you don't have an answer, you don't know when the answer, in the event is declined, how would we move forward?
We'll move forward in the tax-exempt bond market, and we will structure our issuances to make sure that we spread out the fiscal impact.
Okay. And we should know that, you said by January 2020?
I said the first part of 2020. I don't know if it'll be in January, but I suspect it'll be in the first quarter.
Okay. And what would the conditions IBank saying yes or no?
Well, they have a ranking system, so they asked for this. Originally, we had drafted these ordinances where we had multiple projects in one ordinance. They specifically asked us to separate them so that they could rank the projects separately. There are certain projects, they have priorities, funding priorities, so when they score the ordinance, it will get different points depending upon what their priorities are. I would say that our internal team believes that the meter ordinance is one of our highest priorities, but it may not score as one of their highest priorities. It's one of our highest priorities because the new meters, the old meters are 30 years old, or more. There are several properties that have not been metered that we've identified. And we believe that placing new meters will cut down on system loss, and will also have the added benefit of providing us with a baseline of smart city technology, because all of the meters that we'll be using are smart city meters.
Thank you, Council President.
Roll call, Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten,
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
43-2019, a bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the water/sewer utility by and in the city of Orange Township, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $5,200,000 therefore from the water sewer utility of the city and authorizing the issuance of $5,200,000 bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
Motion to close citizens' comments.
Motion,
Second.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Wooten.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Second.
Councilman Williams and Councilwoman Jackson.
Either way.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call, Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten,
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
44-2019, a bond ordinance providing for water utility infrastructure by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $620,000 thereof, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $620,000 bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
Motion to close citizens' comments.
Councilman Williams and
Second.
Councilwoman Summers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Councilman Williams,
Second.
Councilman Jackson.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call, Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten,
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
49-2019, an ordinance to amend the code of the city of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-35, Section 4, Time Limited Parking, Cleveland Street. Any citizens wish to speak?
Motion to close.
Councilman Williams,
Second.
Councilwoman Summers Wooten.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Councilman Williams,
Second.
Councilman Wooten.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call, Councilman Coley,
Yes.
Councilman Jackson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten,
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
50-2019, a bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of property located at Block 3601, lots 1, 2, 33 through 38, Block 3702, Lot 4, commonly known as the Orange Memorial Hospital site by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, the city, appropriate $9 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $9 million bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
Yes. Back to my
You want to
question.
identify yourself again, please?
Godwin Wananu.
Okay.
And to the business administrator, my question is, after we float this bond and acquire this property from the bank, what are we going to do with it? Because I heard you saying, or I heard that the reason why the city wants to take it over is because it's like an eyesore and things of that nature. But once the city acquires it, the city has to be responsible for securing that property, making sure that it's in safe condition and all that. Why are we not making sure that the lender is, takes care of all these things now and then look for a developer or developers to come in and develop the property? It seems as if we're putting the cart before the horse. by acquiring the property and then going to look for a developer.
I'm just waiting for a question mark.
Okay.
So if the question is, why are we doing it and not letting the property owner do it?
Right.
Okay.
And the bank,
Okay, the bank has no obligation to do anything. They don't own the property. They have a lien on the property.
Okay.
The city has absolutely no authority whatsoever to make the bank do anything.
Okay.
And so that everyone is clear, we are not buying the property. We are buying the note, the mortgage, and the foreclosure judgment.
Okay.
There's a process when a loan is in default that would permit the owner of the note, the mortgage, and the default judgment to go to sheriff's sale.
Right.
That forces a change of ownership. The ordinance that we're considering is designed solely and exclusively to allow us to acquire that so that we can force the sheriff's sale. I anticipate that we would own the property, own the note, the mortgage, and the default judgment for less than 90 days before it is sold at a sheriff's sale or another conveyance is worked out with a series of developers.
Okay.
So the $9 million, if we spend it at all, will be spent to acquire the interest in property represented by the note, the mortgage, and the default judgment. And as soon as we have those, we can force a sheriff's sale. The sheriff's sale will create the change of ownership and the impetus for the development of the property, and the city will not have any permanent debt on the $9 million. It will be paid off.
If there's a default judgment,
Yes.
yeah, that means the property is about to be foreclosed.
The property was actually foreclosed on in June of 2018 is
Okay.
when the default judgment was entered.
Okay, so, but who foreclosed on it?
The
bank?
lender.
Okay, so at that point, the lender is responsible for making sure that the property is secured and all that.
No,
Okay.
actually, they're not. They're
That's not true, that's not true.
They are
Okay.
not responsible
Okay.
until they take title.
Okay,
They have not taken title.
okay, I do mortgages.
I'm
okay?
wonderful.
That's
So
what-
do I.
Okay, and the point I'm making is that when a lender forecloses,
When a lender forecloses
Right.
and executes and is in the ownership stream,
Okay.
then they have
so you're
responsibility.
saying they haven't gotten to that stage yet?
I'm saying they have intentionally not gotten to that stage because they did not want to be in the chain of ownership, which is not uncommon for lenders, as you probably know, if you do mortgages.
It doesn't sound right.
None of this sounds right.
I think
right, sir.
we're taking on an obligation that we're going to regret, and then end up, giving the property away to a developer at a fraction of the cost that we're acquiring it for, which has happened in the past in the city of Orange.
I wasn't here when that happened, if it happened.
Yeah.
Thank you for your words.
Again, my name is Jeffrey Feld. I just had to reserve some of the comments. One, and this is another deal that the supplemental debt statement has to be adjusted because of taking out the $9 million that you took of there before. That comment has to stand up. In addition, there's a procedural question here about first reading. The first reading occurred at a special meeting. The question of the adequacy of the notice of the adoption of the first reading. Second issue is this is a bond that did not go to the local finance board for approval. Let's understand that's different from all the other bonds, so there's a different category here. My concern is a little bit like this gentleman. It also goes like to the why. We're going to issue bonds, but does the administration have an obligation to come back to the council and tell them at some point what was the purchase price? Because that link is missing here now because there's no contract and no one's done the due diligence. So I think you have to preserve your right that you have authority to approve contracts, and are you delegating that statutory authority that was given to you by the state legislature to the executive? Consider that.
I am also questioning, Kathleen Gordon, I'm also questioning the given that it just, to me also, as I have seen sheriff sales being executed, defaults and sheriff sales being executed, that it is absolutely not a given that once the city puts down $9 million in, in bonds, that the sheriff sale will produce more than a few million of it. So it is obvious that the lender has taken a risk when land, it happens to many homeowners. They have the bank lent them more than the property is valued, and it defaults to the lender. Now you said that the lender did not take possession. I don't see why we are helping out the lender from his bad investment and paying for it ourselves. Thank you.
Is there a motion to close citizen comments?
Move. Councilman Williams
Second.
and Councilman Coley.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move. Councilman Williams,
Second.
Councilman Coley.
On the motion?
On the motion,
Councilman Coley.
yes, I just want to say this right here, I'm glad. First of all, I just want to thank the public for coming up, expressing their concern, about the hospital site. But it has been a problem property for 20-plus years, and eyesore, homicides have taken place over there. All types of other illegal activity has taken place over there. And right now, the city is in a very unique position to do something positive with that property. And if we don't act now, God only knows when we will be in this position to capitalize on the moment again. So I just want to thank the BA for all the many meetings that he had, putting together this packet, this deal where we are right now. And I'm just letting folks know I'm in full support of moving this ordinance forward. Thank you.
Council President,
Councilman Williams.
through you to Mr. Hartwick. Mr. Hartwick, what is the likelihood of developer to come in and to sell it at less than?
I didn't catch
The developer, you get through this part, and then you put out the RFQs or whatever, and then it goes up, and it's sold, and the offer comes in at less than this amount.
So let me explain how the sheriff's sale works, because I think that answers your question. The person in possession of the mortgage, the note, and the default judgment who takes it to sheriff's sale has to be paid. If you want to bid for that property at the sheriff's sale, you have to pay more than the face amount of the default judgment. If you do not pay more than face amount, the owner of the mortgage and the note has what's called a credit bid. And that credit bid is the face amount of the default judgment that they hold. So there is no shortage of developers who have lined up. Many of them have actually come to this chamber, who have expressed an interest in acquiring the property, but have not been able to maneuver some of the tangled web that the owner and the series of lenders that have been involved have set up. So the bid to acquire the mortgage, the note, and the default judgment puts the city in the position to go to a sheriff's sale. We effectively become the lender. We cannot be forced to take $1 less than what we paid for the note, the mortgage, and the default judgment. If nobody bids at the sheriff's sale, we then turn as a result of the sheriff's sale, our note, mortgage, and default judgment into a deed of title for the property, which we can then sell, we can auction, we can do an RFP process for developers, a condition of which would be that the city gets back all of the money that they laid out for the mortgage, the note, and the default judgment. The more difficult question is what happens if we don't do this? And I'm happy to answer that one if anybody asks.
20-plus years.
I'd like to ask you that, if we don't do this, because I learned back in real estate school, you who controls the land controls the deal. And since I've been living in Orange 17 years, we've never been able to control that deal.
Right.
Can you speak to that if we don't do it?
The current owner has absolutely no plan to develop the property. So if someone does not come along to force the sheriff's sale, then at some point, because the existing lender doesn't want to go to sheriff's sale because he doesn't want to be in the chain of title, someone will come and they will cut a deal to acquire the note, the mortgage, and you will be stuck with an owner that you don't approve of or that you haven't had any part in selecting, much like the owner you have now. And that could be over a period of 2 years or 15 or 20 years. So from the standpoint of what's in the best interests of the city, you cannot leave that site as is in the hands of the people who now control it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
That's 6 yeas, 1 no. Motion passed. 51-2019. A bond ordinance providing for Phase 1 of the rehabilitation and/or redevelopment of water transmission mains, water distribution mains, and wells by and in the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $5 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $5 million bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. Are there any citizens who wish to speak?
And Jeffrey Feld, and this is more like clarifications. On this bond, based on what I read in the application, this bond is not going to be going to the infrastructure bank, because I don't think that debt service was in the application. It was also based on what I thought I heard in Trenton. This is a lot of the monies that are being used for this bond issue, we have expended monies for.
For this ordinance?
Yeah, I just wanted that a factual clarification, because that leads into, again, it's not the infrastructure bonds, is that on Friday afternoon, I received the October monthly operating and revenue reports for the utilities, and the problem I'm having, and I think we all should be having, that if we had to do emergency improvements to the property, and we're going to refund the monies for it, but you can't track that improvements on that. I wish Mr. Mack was here so he could help us explain this. Again, this is one of these deals that we have to do, but people need to understand that this group is more of like a refunding bond for expenses that we had, and it's not going to be subject to the infrastructure benefits of it. But also, I think we need to start focusing on, we're supposed to get monthly operating reports on the revenue side for the utility that doesn't have for 2 months. And if we are having capital expenditures, we need to look at that. Plus also, I assume that you will receive this. Based on this, it shows a payment that was for an obligation from last year, even though it's like less than $1,000, might indicate, I don't know the answer, that we're not self-liquidating. Thank you.
Kathleen Gordon. I am interested to know what percentage of the water transmission and distribution mains will be replaced by this ordinance.
So this ordinance actually, it's not a refunding bond ordinance. It has been prepared with an authorization to apply to the NJIB. We just don't think that they're going to fund it because most of the money in this was used to repair a main that broke from Freeway Drive West all the way down Crane Street to Lincoln. It was to loop a main at the end of Vos Avenue, over Randolph Place to Scotland Road, down and then back to Vos Avenue in order to provide sufficient water pressure in that line to fight fires in the 6 apartment buildings that are located at that end of town. That was a public safety emergency because we tested the pressure, and the pressure in the main, which was a dead-end main, was not sufficient to provide water and fire suppression services. So we did that immediately. In addition, in this ordinance, there were some leaks that were identified in a leak detection program that we contracted for with National Main. We repaired those leaks. They were significant leaks. We were losing literally hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in those leaks, so they had to be repaired. So the vast majority of the $5 million that's authorized here was for capital improvements that were necessary, capital maintenance improvements, if you will, that became necessary during the ordinary operation of the utility. And we paid for those out of what's considered to be cash on hand as an interfund. Some of the contractors have not been paid, but will be paid out of bond proceeds. And the rest of the money will go to reimburse the interfund accounts that were used to fund those projects. So I don't have a linear calculation of Crane Street and the Vos Avenue line, but I'm sure I can get it.
So if I understand it correctly, this is basically repayment of already executed work?
These were mains that burst that needed to be repaired, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they were done.
So,
And every year, we're going to have a couple $1 million worth of this stuff because we have a system that's 130 years old.
is there a plan then, if this is not it, then is there a plan then how to go about systematically replace, as it sounded like from the ordinance?
The Water Accountability Act requires us to replace a certain number of linear feet of our mains if they're over 100 years old every year. We've met that requirement in 18, and we've already met it in 19. And we will continue to meet it through a capital maintenance program.
Thank you.
There's really, we could sit down and say, okay, we're going to do the main on this road, and we're going to do the main on this road. But if the break happens on a different road, and we were going to spend $1 million on this road, but it's not broken, during that operational year, we may have to shift that $1 million to a different location.
Ms.
These are replacements,
Gordon, your
right?
time is up. Your time is up.
They're main replacements, usually from manhole to manhole, sometimes longer.
Council President, I just want to remind you that you haven't answered my question yet.
Ms. Gordon, you can feel free to come to Mr. Hartwick's and Mr. Mepp's office at any time, and they will go through it with you in detail. Thank you. Move the agenda.
Is there a motion to close citizen comments?
Move. Second.
Motion by Councilman Coley, second by Councilwoman Wooten. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
I didn't say a word. That was Wooten.
That's true.
This is because you had your mouth close to the mic.
On the motion?
Council President?
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you. Mr. Hartwick, two statements have been made about not being self-liquidating. And I know the last time we increased the fees in water and sewer, we kind of forecasted out to anticipate that this system will be able to take care of itself. And you just mentioned that there may have to be an increase. How do you consider right now that we are currently self-liquidating, and how soon before you think that you're going to suggest a proposal of increase?
So we do the self-liquidating calculation a couple times a year. We're required to do it at the end of the year. The utility is self-liquidating. The rate increases that we instituted in 17 make us self-liquidating. But and it's a difficult calculation at this point to determine when we're going to need to do a rate increase, because much of that will depend upon how many of the ordinances are approved for funding through the IBank.
Okay.
However, if none of the ordinances are approved through the IBank, then over a period of 2 to 8 years, we'll be phasing in roughly an 18% increase in order to meet debt service. And some of that could be lowered if, for example, we increase collection and we decrease loss. So if we go forward with a leak prevention program and we continue to address leaks as they come up as opposed to letting them sit around, and we do a better job metering, and we get all of the unmetered buildings and some of the unmetered non-payers onto the payment rolls, those increased revenues will, and decreases in loss, will offset some of the noted rate increases. We basically did the rate schedule as though none of that happens. And clearly, that's not our plan. So that's why it's difficult to say exactly with precision when the rate increase would be needed. We have prioritized in the operational meetings, we have prioritized leak detection and correction, and we have prioritized metering all buildings and increasing collection. And we've made a very aggressive, taken a very aggressive approach on collecting on bills.
Okay. Thank you, Council President.
Move to adjourn.
Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
52-2019, a bond ordinance providing for various 2019 capital acquisitions and improvements for the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $9,046,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $8,611,000 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. Any citizens wish to speak?
Gavin Wanana, again. Can you please name some of the items that are being considered in the capital acquisition?
You didn't get this, sir? Here's all the items. He'll still name, but you can have that. Okay.
I can keep this?
Yes, sir.
So I'll hit the big ones.
Thank you.
But there is the purchase and installation of a citywide public safety camera system. It's estimated at $2.5 million, and it's an item that we have identified to seek grants for. In the event the grants are received, the authorization would be reduced on a dollar-for-dollar basis. The second largest item is $2.9 million, and that's the purchase of a standard fire engine, a mid-mount tower ladder, and a rescue engine and related equipment for the fire department. I've had multiple weeks during 19 and 2018 where I had no backup apparatus in the firehouse based upon the age of the equipment. And the other major item is work done for the public works yard It includes an exhaust system for the garage. There's also included an exhaust system for the firehouse. Those two items were requested by our insurer. It also includes down at the Public Works Yard a new roof and the installation of a truck wash station. Sorry about that. There is also repaving and refencing of the Public Works yard area to secure it properly and to add above-ground gas tanks or fuel tanks, including construction bollards and a security and punch key security system for the distribution of fuel. That item alone, because the city has been paying for fuel for all of its vehicles at retail pump prices, should save approximately $300,000 a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, Jeffrey Feld, I just request at the next meeting, if we just can have like a re-summary of saying after the adoption of all these ordinances, what our new net debt number would be, our gross debt number, and what our new equalization ratio would be if it changes from what was in the application to the local finance board, that the public just knows, after what we did today, and what is the new gross debt of the town, what is the new net debt, and what's the new ratio? It's going to be 3.17, or it will be a lesser amount? Thank you.
My question is along somewhat similar lines. I am interested to know if this jump in bonds will affect our bond rating at all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end.
Bond rating.
Will it impact the bond rating? That remains to be seen. When there'll be a bond rating review in January. The rating agencies do one every year. And we're likely to do a rating presentation before we go to permanent financing. So that may happen at some point in 2020. I don't know the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Much of it will depend.
I don't know if you have any experience. So it seems like our indebtedness is rising significantly, so it is.
So the rating agencies, we're nowhere near a debt limitation that's imposed by statute. That was a point that was made quite eloquently by the executive director of the local finance board during our hearing presentation. There are, however, factors that have been raised by the rating agencies in the past that need to be addressed. We've been working on our tax collection rate. It's improved every year since the new tax collector has been here. We have some appropriation cap issues, which the rating agencies have looked at, and we're addressing a strategy internally and with the state to address the appropriation cap issue. Those were the two major issues that the rating agencies had in 2018 when they downgraded the rating.
Where are we? What is our rating now?
Right now, I believe it's, Everett, do you remember?
I believe it's B.
You got to.
BAA2? I just can't remember. They all have different signs. We're very much aware of rating implications, and we have engaged a financial consultant and advisor to advise us through that process because the rating can affect interest rates.
That's why I'm asking. Thank you.
Motion to close citizen comments?
Move. Second.
Motion by Councilman Coley, second by Councilwoman Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to move on final?
Move.
Councilman Wooten.
On the motion?
Council President,
Yes, Councilwoman Williams.
And also, through you to Mr. Hartwick. Mr. Hartwick, there are various items on here that possibly can be, grants could be applied for, and then if so, the process will be.
So I pointed out that we're going to seek grants, even some special grants through our elected representatives on the camera program. We always put in a safer grant application. We haven't been awarded one in, I don't know.
Safe as manpower, or it could be equipment as well?
It can be equipment also. We're also looking at the Essex County Improvement Authority's capital lease purchase program. They already went out with their 2019 issuance, so depending upon the timing, we may be able to put the fire trucks in that. But in order to order them, we need the bond ordinance in place. The trucks themselves take 6 to 7 months once you order them. By that time, we may know whether or not the ECIA will be doing another capital lease purchase program. They have a AAA rating, so if we went through them, we would get the benefit of their rating. So those are the things that we're pursuing. There's also the possibility that we move some of our community development block grant money into some of the capital needs of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwick.
Motion to, roll call, Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
Ordinance on introduction, first reading. 56-2019. An ordinance amending Chapter 26, Police Department of the City Code of the City of Orange Township to add a new Article 3, establishing a K-9 policy for the City of Orange Township Police Department. Is there a motion to adopt on first?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and
Second.
Councilman Johnson.
On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
Final reading will be Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in a normal sequence on the agenda. Any items we're removing? I know we're removing 338. Any other items?
Let's move. Move.
No? Consent agenda consists of 387, 388, 389, 390, 391, 392, and 393. Is there a motion to adopt the consent?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Coley, second by Councilman Johnson Jr. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
Resolution 394, 2019 WO. A resolution to hold an executive closed session to discuss pending litigation matters and contract negotiations. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Williams, second by Councilman Jackson. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman
I'm
Cole?
sorry, on the motion, there may be action?
There may be action at the end of the executive session when we reconvene.
And Madam Clerk,
Yes?
I don't have a copy of that.
It's a walk-on. It's a resolution for executive session.
Okay.
We don't have a copy of that.
Okay.
I'll get you a copy.
Gotcha. Huh?
Roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Wooten.
On the motion, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason.
Yes.
We're now entering into executive session at 10:02 p.m.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I moved that we extend the meeting.
What? No, we good. A motion to.
You gonna be here by yourself.
Motion
A
ignored.
motion to.
Is there a motion to reconvene?
Move.
Second.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Wooten. Motion to reconvene. Oh.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thanks.
We've now reconvened at 10:14. So, I'm gonna do it a different way. So, Resolution 338-2019, a resolution authorizing property tax exemption and waiving the tax balance of $20,142.40 for Block 3002, Lot 2, AKA 136-140 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey 07050, AKA Debris Granite, Candace Gabrielle Ethiopian Orthodox Toledo Church. Can I get a motion to return this legislation back to the administration?
Move.
Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Wooten.
On the motion?
Take it back.
And just say that again,
Seeing no
Ms.
roll
Lanier,
call.
just for clarity, a motion to return it to administration.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
We accept it.
Huh?
We accept it.
Who was
call.
the second? I'm sorry.
It wasn't you
Wooten.
and I.
Okay, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson Jr.?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wooten?
Yes.
Council President Eason?
Yes.
Any new business, pending business? No? Is there a
I
motion?
just wondered, did everybody see the thank you card?
I received it. I think it did, yes.
You
Well,
saw
I
it?
received it, yes. I haven't looked at it, but I received
Oh, this is it?
it. From,
We were circulating, I think it went this side.
yeah, I haven't seen that. I
Yeah,
haven't seen that.
okay.
Fun at the league, everybody.
All right.
Sign this last one. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
That was a motion by who?
Everybody?
Aye.
All in favor? Any opposed?
The last thing.
Meeting adjourned at 10:16 p.m.